Hello. I hope you've had a really good week. Here we are again, ready for another virtual story. Are you ready? Okay. This week's story can be found in this box. It is the story of King David. In Bethlehem, where Ruth made her home, Jesse and his family also lived. Jesse was the grandson of Ruth and had many sons. One day Samuel came to Bethlehem in search of the next king. He went to Jesse's house because God told him he would find the next king there. So he asked Jesse if he had some sons. He did. He brought 6 of his sons for Samuel to meet. But Samuel said the next king was not among them. Were there any more sons? And Samuel said, yes, the youngest, David, he's out tending the sheep. When Samuel met him, he knew in an instant this was the king he was looking for. So he brought his horn of oil, special anointing oil, like the oil in this jar. And he poured some over David's head to anoint him as the next king. Now this was confusing because there already was a king, King Saul. But evil spirits tormented King Saul. Still, David would not become king until King Saul died. But King Saul got worse. And some people said music might help. So David was sent for to come and play the harp and sing songs to soothe King Saul. You can find some of those songs still today in the book of Psalms. Now, while David was still a boy, there was a great war in the land. And the army of the people of God and the army of the Philistines lined up ready to fight. And the Philistines sent a very tall giant of a man out to fight someone from King Saul's army. His name was Goliath. No one wanted to fight him. Well, when David heard about this challenge, he said he would fight Goliath. Now they put on the king's armor, but it was much too heavy for him, so he cast that aside. And he went to challenge Goliath, taking only his shepherd's staff, his slingshot, and 5 smooth stones. He had killed bears and wolves to protect the sheep. So why couldn't he kill Goliath to protect the people? And he did. And the people never forgot his bravery. And when he grew up, he joined the army of King Saul. Now, King Saul had many sons of his own, and one was named Jonathan. Jonathan and David became very close friends. And Jonathan tried to protect David even from his father, the king. Because you see, David was such a good soldier that he became very popular, more popular than the king. And this made King Saul very jealous and very angry. He wanted to kill David. And Jonathan talked to his father and told him what a good man David was. But King Saul would not listen. So Jonathan realized the only way to keep David safe was if he went away and hid. So the two friends had to say goodbye. Then King Saul and his sons went to fight the Philistines again. But this time, King Saul and all his sons were killed. David was traveling with his army when he heard the news, and he was so sad. He never forgot his friend Jonathan. And when he became king, he brought Jonathan's son to live with him, to eat at his table, and even gave him the lands of his grandfather, King Saul. Now it was time for David to be the king. They brought the king's crown to him, and all the people from the tribes of Israel came to Hebron to make him king. And they said, "You will be the shepherd of the people." And one of the first things David did as king was lead an army to take back Jerusalem from the Jebusites. So now there was a city of David in Bethlehem and a city of David in Jerusalem. And then he remembered that the ark had been lost to the Philistines. So he got his army and went to battle with the Philistines, and he defeated them. So they brought back the ark. They were so happy. King David was dancing in the streets while they carried the ark back to its special place in the tent, just like when they were in the desert. David wanted to build a beautiful new place for God's home and for the ark. But God said no. David is a king of war. But David's son, Solomon, would build the temple. One spring, when kings go forth into battle, David stayed in Jerusalem and sent his army out. And one afternoon, he saw the beautiful wife of Uriah the Hittite. Her name was Bathsheba. He wanted her. So he sent Uriah out into battle, and Uriah was killed. So David married Bathsheba. God sent Nathan, the prophet, to talk with King David. And Nathan told a parable. A rich man and a poor man lived in the same village. The rich man had many sheep, and the poor man had only one lamb. And this lamb was like one of his children. It ate at the table with him, it drank from his cup, it even slept in his lap. One day the rich man had a guest, and he did not want to kill one of his sheep for dinner. So he took the poor man's lamb and served that instead. When King David heard this, he was so angry. He said, "As the Lord lives, that man should be killed. He should pay back 4 times what that lamb was worth, because he did this thing and had no pity." And Nathan said, "You are that rich man. God has given you everything, and you took Uriah's wife." David was filled with sorrow. He wondered if he would die like King Saul. He did not die, but the first son that he had with Bathsheba did die. The second son did not. They named him Solomon, and he became the next king. David was not a perfect king. He made mistakes, but he understood and asked God to forgive him, and God did. When David was old and full of years, he was buried in the city of Jerusalem. And his son Solomon continued to rule the lands, and he did build the beautiful temple. Now I wonder, which part of this story did you like best? I wonder which part of this story is most important. I wonder which part of this story is most for you. Where do you see yourself? And I wonder if we could leave out any part of this story and still have all the story we need. I hope you enjoyed that story. I'm going to put it away, the city of Jerusalem. The sheep, the lamb, the rich man and the poor man. A parable, a small parable. The ark, David and his crown, the slingshot, the shepherd's staff, and the 5 stones. The harp and the oil. I hope you have a wonderful week, and I'll see you next time.
So today we're going to read The Blue Songbird, and it's written by Vern Kousky. Once there lived a blue songbird. And every morning she would wake up and hop to the edge of a high branch and listen to her sister's lovely songs. And the songbird always tried to join in with them, but she could never sing like they could sing. "I'm not like my older sisters," said the songbird to her mother. "It seems there are no songs for me "My dearest one," replied her mother, "not just any notes will do. You must go and find a special song that only you can sing." And so the songbird left her mother, left the nest and all she knew, and flew off to find her special song. And when she reached a far-off land, she saw a giant bird unlike any she'd ever seen before. And the songbird landed and began to chirp. "Excuse me, Mr. Long-necked Bird, in your travels, have you heard of a very special thing, a song that only I can sing?" And the bird stretched his slender neck down low to where the songbird stood. "My name is Crane," whooped the bird, "and I'm sorry I can't help you. But see those mountains over there? Beyond them lies the wisest bird. If anyone knows where to find the answer, I'm sure it will be him." And the songbird kindly thanked the crane and then flew off to continue her quest. She soared over the mountain peaks and dove down into a deep valley until she reached a dark pine forest. And here she found a bird who looked very old and wise. "Oh, hello, Mr. Wise Old Bird. In your long life you must have heard of a very special thing, a song that only I can sing?" "I am Owl," hooted the bird. "Who are you looking for?" "No, not who," answered the songbird. "I'm searching for a song." But the owl only cocked his head. Who? This must not be the wise bird after all, thought the songbird. Still, she thanked him kindly and then flew off once more to continue her quest. The songbird crossed rivers and valleys, cities and oceans, and all along the way, she always asked where she might find her song. But no bird ever had the answer. And one windy winter day, she met a bird who looked a little bit mean and more than a little bit hungry. And even so, the songbird chirped bravely. "Please don't eat me, Mr. Scary Bird. I just wondered if you'd ever heard of a very special thing, a song that only I can sing." "Call me Crow," cawed the bird, "and I have heard of such a thing. Across the sea there is an island, golden as the sun and filled with the most enchanting music. Fly west as far as you can, and there you will find the song you seek." And the songbird kissed the clever crow and then set out to cross the sea. And she flew through storm and wind, through night and day, until she was more tired than she had ever been. But the songbird did not rest, for she knew that soon she'd find her special song. And then she saw the island glowing like a jewel on the horizon, In the distance, she could hear the sound of beautiful music. "At last! I made it," laughed the songbird, and suddenly her wings felt strong again, and she swooped down faster and faster, following the sound, until she found that after all that time, she was home. And the songbird's heart fell. She had circled the whole world, spoken to every bird there was, but her quest had failed. And then she saw her mother, and all her disappointments disappeared. She had so many stories to tell. But when the songbird opened her beak to tell them, what came out was not words at all, but a song. She sang a song of the crane and owl, and of the clever crow, and of cities and stormy seas and mountains capped with snow, and of all the warm and sunny days and the chilly nights alone, and of the love that the songbird felt for her family and her home. King David was a great singer of songs, and that's why I thought I'd share that story with you today. And then I'd like to close with a prayer that reminds me of a song. It's called River. Let us learn how the rivers dance. Let us watch how they trickle and surge, how they fall and curl, how they swirl and eddy. Let us see how they dance according to the rules that God gave, how they are more obedient to their Maker than any of humankind. Let us learn from the rivers how to dance to the Maker's tune.